planes, trains, and a copper factory. Except, forget I said planes, because those don't exist in the game. But welcome back. I appreciate you guys being here. Like I said, we're going to dial it back to a little bit more easy today. We're just going to overhaul my original copper factory. So currently I'm outputting like very, very, very minimal amounts. I'm going to turn that today into 420 copper sheets. Nice. 120 copper wire. You don't really need a whole lot of copper wire in the end game, like a little bit. 120 is more than enough. And then 300 cable per minute, which should helpfully keep me from running out of things as I'm starting to build more and more of these big blueprints. The main things I'm running out of currently right now are copper sheets, motors, and then occasionally rubber, but not quite as much. But mainly copper sheets and motors because of all the pipes and refineries that I end up using. So let's jump into it today. Today we're starting off with the train line with some blueprints. I'm going to show you guys how I set up my curves that I was showing off in the, what do you call it? The electromagnetic control rod factory. See, I can't say that word. So we're going to go over those curves quickly and how to use them. If you want to build them yourself, you can. If you just want to use mine, I'll show you how to use them once you download them, put them in your save file. And then we'll head on over to the copper factory where I have pre-built a pretty cool factory frame, at least, that we're just going to build inside. It's got a train hooked up, or we'll have a train hooked up for that's going to bring, it's a total of 1200 copper ore per minute because where I built it only has 600. So I had to bring in another 600. And then we're going to turn that into, like I said, copper sheets, wire, and cable. So thank you guys again so much for being here. Thank you guys, all the people who support the channel on Patreon and the YouTube membership. Appreciate you guys, Bambi, Ray Trace, and Lily. Now let's head on over to our blueprint maker, and then I'll show you guys some railway blueprints. So I currently have two blueprint designs for trains. This is set up for doing a double track down either side, and then that's just the gap in the middle. I also have this just to kind of help myself line things up better when I'm doing curves. So like this for example is to my straight one. And then I also have another one where it's set where it basically just doesn't have the thing in the middle. And this is designed just for one singular track running down the middle, just so I'm still running on the two foundation. I think I may switch to a bigger foundation as well in the future where I have like, maybe it's like 3 wide, and then I'll have room for more stuff. Because this just end up being a little bit small, I think, and I like to add maybe a little bit more features to it if I do this again. So I'll show you guys quickly. This would be, for example, under my train stuff, I'll show you my right-hand turn here. So as you can see, we have these beautiful, beautiful curves. So I'm going to show you quickly how to do the curves the way I was doing it. There's many ways you can actually do them, but this is just the way I saw someone doing it and thought it was pretty easy and pretty easy to follow too. So you're going to grab your 2-meter foundation. You're going to put 2 of them just next to each other like that. This is how I'm doing the one that I'm using. You're going to hold Control, grab the other one, and you're going to put it right in the middle. I'll hold H for a second. Right in the, if you broke down the foundations into 4 quarters, you're going to put it in the top left corner. So this is going to be for turning to the right. And then the other way, you would just turn and go the other way. So we're going to put that there. I'm going to let go of H for a second so I can move this around again. And then what I'm going to do is while I'm holding Control, I'm going to turn this with my scroll wheel just a little bit like that. Just one little turn like that. This is for a 5-degree turn. You can do sharper ones too, but I like the 5 degrees because they're really clean looking. So now we're going to hold it with H again. Then we're going to nudge it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, all right, I have control. I'm holding Control down. My bad. Okay, so without holding Control down, you're going to nudge it 1, 2, 3, 4, so that it's on the outside of the foundation here. And then you're going to nudge it over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that it's sitting right there. And then you're going to put that one down there. And then you'll put one underneath it. And you can delete the one off the top. Put a second one. I mean, I could have zoomed them over too, and that is essentially how you do the turn. So just doing that one more time, holding Control in the corner of the foundation. We're going to lock it in with H. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, that's too many. 3. Wait, did I put that in the right? I might not put that one in the right position. So we're going to go. I'll straighten it out first because that makes it just a little bit easier. So there we go. Now we're going to turn it 1. Lock it with H. 1, 2, 3, 4 out. 1, 2, 3, 4 over. There we go. Now it's in the right spot. And then you would just continue doing that. You could basically come out like one more. I think I can usually do them in about 4 pieces. And that would be the turn to the right. Now, I'm going to show you to do another one as well. So actually, I'll just do that really quick. So when you're doing your turns and you want to make like a continual turn, the problem with having just this is having a flat spot line up with this outer turn will add flat spots to all your curves, and then it won't be a nice smooth continuous turn. So in order to fix that, and I'll show you how we're going to put it together when we're actually done. Once you're actually done putting your blueprint together, you're going to take off the 2 flat pieces here, and you want to save that as a separate blueprint. You call it like, I call them like continuous turn or no straight or something like that, just so I can remember. And then that's going to make it so you can actually make your full continuous turns. So I'm going to go over here now, and I'm going to show you how to actually use these blueprints. I'm probably going to fall out of the sky here any second because I don't have power that stretches this far. Whee! Alright, I'm actually just going to fly just to make this a whole lot easier for you guys to follow along with. So I'm going to grab our blueprints here, go to my train stuff, and so I'll just use my one that has the barrier in the middle. So we're going to pop this down onto... Okay, so, sorry, I fell out of the sky there. So, blueprints. We're going to grab our railway straight. We're going to put it onto this little thing here, just as a starting point, so I know I'm on my world grid. And then you're going to come, and then I'll just start showing you a turn right away. So, we're going to grab our blueprints. We're going to grab our railway straight. Where is it? So, this is... I'll go to the left, so we'll go left turn. So, you hear I've labeled it not straight. So, this is the one that has the straight piece on it. So there you can see it lines up perfectly. We just hold it with H and just nudge it into position. Now, if I was to put another straight piece on here, like I just put there, as you can see, you end up with this straight piece in your turn, which is fine. Not necessarily a big deal, but it also makes it a little bit harder, I think, to get back onto the world grid easier. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our not straight piece. We're going to lock it in position with H, and you're going to nudge it back 1, 2 spots, and it's going to... overlap a little bit, but what it is going to do is it's going to allow you to make fully straight turns. So now you can go to blueprint, or don't use blueprint mode, I think, when you're doing this one. So lock it in with H and then just nudge it into position. Blueprint mode works a lot easier when you're just using like the straight pieces and everything, but or if you're trying to lock in from the outside, I think it works better too. So if I go to like blueprint mode here and try to lock in, I guess not. I guess, yeah, definitely do it without blueprint mode on. But that is, as far as I've learned, how to do nice smooth turns for your railways, and then you can basically just start slapping them down on top if you need to know how to put down the railways. We're going to go to transport, grab some railways. I'll start right here in about the middle. Oh, there we go. So I do have it so like the one like side of the rail clips through the middle piece. So I guess if I made these a little bit bigger in the future, I could fix that. But we're going to put that part there. And then you can basically just, because of the way the curve follows, you can basically just kind of keep coming around and clicking down as you're going. And then don't go too far though, because it'll get kind of like too far out of whack. And then once you get to your straight piece again, you're going to go to, say, your railway straight. You can put it here on the end by not using blueprint mode. We're going to put it in like that. We'll grab our railway here. Put that one down there. And you can link it up there. And the curve should basically perfectly follow, more or less, the blueprint around the curve. To get some really nice looking clean railways. I could clean this part up a little bit here. I think I probably will. Yeah, that is essentially how I use my blueprints for railways and how to do a nice clean 5-degree turn. If you guys are looking to use curves, I think this is a pretty easy way of doing it. So now we can head on over to the actual copper factory that you can see off in the distance here that I've pre-designed for you guys. I think it's kind of cool. I don't necessarily love this front portion where it's got like the triangle with the flat piece on it. I think I more like the left side where it goes up and then flattens off a little more. Unfortunately, I can't really change it now because of the way I've sort of designed it, but it'll be a cool copper factory nonetheless. So let's head on over there and we can get started on building. Also, credit where credit's due. Those blueprint designs for the railways were not necessarily mine. I did decorate them just a little different, but they were from Total Eclipse. I saw he was giving out. Well, he showed us how to build them, and so I just kind of followed along with it and sort of tweaked a little bit of my design, and just wanted to make sure people, it's not necessarily my design. So anyway, this is the Copper Factory that I thought was kind of cool. So we got like there is big billboards behind here, turned into like a copper coloring, with just some frame walls kind of in front of that. It's got windows, lots of colored coated concrete. And so you got your train coming in here, which is going to be delivering 600 copper ore. And then you've got 600 copper ore coming from this little spot right here. So now you have 600 copper ore coming from that little spot. So welcome to the Copper Factory. I think it looks pretty cool. We've got a spot here for 40 copper smelters. We've got our management here, who's probably going to get run over by a train here if he's not careful. And then we've got up here is going to be 40 constructors for copper sheaths. 2 of them are going to be overclocked. And then on the very top of that, in this little kind of leftover gap here, there's going to be 10 more constructors that are going to be doing cables. And then on the very upper section here, you come all the way up, we've got a spot for 24 copper constructors that are going to be doing the wire. So you got your wire, you got your sheets, and your cable. And then that's the entire system essentially of the Copper Factory. I've got it kind of pre-designed, like I said, and as usual, if you guys want to build along with me, this thing is already ready to go. It's episode 28 start if you want to follow along, or if you just want a cool Copper Factory to build, and so you don't have to follow along exactly, but it is a cool Copper Factory to build inside of. So this whole spot underneath here is more or less empty at the moment. I was like, I feel like a train's coming in, and then you can kind of come up these stairs here. Oop, there we go. Come up these stairs here to the second floor where you're going to have all your constructors, your copper sheets and everything. And then you can come up one more. I had to do ramps here just because it didn't line up properly if I used the stairs. I don't know if you guys know, these stairs and the ramps are actually at different angles. So if you're ever like just at a spot where either the ramp won't fit or the stairs won't fit, you can swap to like one of the other ones and it'll usually make it work. So there's the upstairs, and here's where we're going to have the 24 copper constructors for the wire. So let's get things kind of all set up. I did use some billboard signs. I don't have global illumination on, but I mean, you still get the cool like reflections and everything from the light, so I thought they were kind of cool to use. And then I do have some actual lights built in as well, so once it gets dark in here, it'll look a lot cooler. Now, without further ado, I think we can jump into actually starting to place some machines, although we do have to take off the train line with blueprints from our to-do list. That's all done for today. So I do have this train line coming in. It just kind of wraps around. It does go through, just because I didn't want to raise it up anymore, it does go through and clip through currently this is a modular frame factory. This is all going to get torn down, so I didn't mind kind of clipping through it for now, because the next episode after this one is all about overhauling our iron products, and also I think finally crafting some AI limiters. And I may even throw in some portable miners in there too, so that I don't have to make those anymore. And then from there, we're doing some like heat sinks and cooling systems and all sorts of stuff. But this, all the basics overhaul will at least finish us up for all our crafting needs going forward. So if you just kind of come around this side here, this is the exit where the train's going to come out, and it goes to a normal copper node over there. It is also clocked to 600. So I didn't use, you could just use one single pure node for this as well if you want, if you had the Mark 6 conveyor belts. But since I don't, and I don't really want to, didn't really want to waste a pure copper node for like a basics copper factory, I just figured I'd use the normal ones here in the green fields, because once we're kind of done here in the green fields, we're going to be expanding to all the more resource rich areas like the red sands desert and stuff like that. So let's get into these smelters, shall we? I'm going to be using my blueprints that you guys know and love from last time and every time. So let's go to, we got them under foundry. We're going to do these stacking, made some stackable ones again. Just basically threw a little piece of 1 meter foundation, I think, on top. But I'll show you what I actually had to do to get these stacked, because just the way 5 smelters, or how big 5 smelters are, I actually also had to add a half foundation that is that's halfway clipped into here. And you'll see why I do that in a second. I think I actually have to take this back out. There we go. So yeah, because I'm doing, I think I'm doing 4 stacks of 10. So basically 2 of these next to each other with 4 of them stacked on top. So we're going to go 1, make sure I'm facing the right way. Maybe this way. And so now I'm going to attach this one. And as you can see, now it's actually, I think this is the wrong, there we go. This is actually about as close as I could get them and actually have them linked together. Because the way I had it designed before, there was making like big gaps and everything in between. This is a slightly bigger gap than the machines have already. I mean, you could nudge it over if you wanted them to be like really close to each other. But I'm going to set it up like this. It kind of just helps you remember where all the connections and everything go. So we're going to pop that in there. You can link those up. And then we're going to grab... Actually, I think I wanted these facing the other way so that I can see the smelter symbols. Yeah, I'm going to flip these around and then I'm going to stack this up 4 times. That's why I kind of have this high vaulted ceiling here. There we go. Easy as that. Now we got 40 copper smelters. I'm really digging having the signs on them to let me know what they are. But like I said, it is still taking me some time to get used to thinking these are on because I used green, but I still like the green color, so. I'm going to hook those all up together like that. Actually, no, I'm not, because these are actually not going to get hooked up together. Well, some of them probably will be, but the way it's going to work is we're going to be moving, I think it's like 840 copper ingots, and then 300 something is going to the wire and cable setup, so it's going to get split up a little bit. So before I actually get those hooked up and split their random ways, we'll get that figured out after. But I've actually set this up super easy to where each set of each group of 2, so you got like a group of 2 up here, a group of 2 here. Each of these only needs the 600, so this miner right here can feed the bottom 2, and the miner over there that's going from the train station, those lines of, I think it comes in 2 lines of 300, which actually makes that even easier. So I'll just connect up one of those lines to here and another line to here, and then we'll be done. Sir, you are right in the way. Literally, I have to connect a splitter and everything right here, and you are just standing. Can I like tickle you and you'll just go away? Or if I yell at you or speak, will you please move? Should I yell at you? How about I blow your butt up? Get out of here. There we go. Okay. So now we can actually put the splitter in here. And what this is going to do... Oh. Just realized these are technically... not facing the wrong way, but... what I'm going to do here is I need to bring this around essentially then. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put a splitter... Make sure I have room here, obviously. Okay, so we'll put a splitter here. And then I'll grab a lift on the backside. It's going to come to there. So that's those 2 fed from this line of 600 over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a lift to make sure it stays up off the ground. And then we'll just do this. Kind of bring it down along. Alright, there we go. That's pretty easy. So now we got this line of 600 is going to feed up along here. Kept it up off the ground. It's this splitter here. 300 goes here. This is actually perfectly fed too. So 300 will go here, 300 will go up here. And then we'll take these lines from here. I'm going to run a lift without getting everything all in the way here. Alright, copper belts are hooked up. So those are going to feed like 300 each. I got one coming up here, one in the middle. So now I just need to actually connect these belts all up. And then we can theoretically power on all our smelters here. And that'll be great. So now I'm just going to have to figure out how I'm going to kind of split these up. Some mergers are going to probably have to get disconnected from each other. And then we'll kind of figure out how these are all going to line up properly. So, looks like so it looks like we get 300 per floor. So that's going to be 300, 600, 900, 1200. So let's figure out how this needs to be split up appropriately. Okay, so I think I've got it kind of figured out. So one line needs 360, so basically that would be 1 floor plus 2. So let's say off this back floor here, let's take these 2 mergers off. We will turn them around so that they're now going this way. And then I will put it on, because this is going that way, right? Okay, perfect. So we're going to grab a lift. This shouldn't actually even clip together. So now those two will merge together with this line right here. We'll connect that up through there. And so now this line should be a total of 360. So I'm going to come down here and put a little sign and mark that out so I don't forget. Because I forget things all the time. Okay, so that leaves me with 300 per floor here, so 600. And then this would give me, since I took away 60, that would be 240. So that gives me the total of 840. Okay, so obviously I can't move that on one belt. But I mean, I could build this in preparation with the Mark 6 conveyor belt come in, because then we could. If we don't, essentially what I'll probably have to do is figure out how to split this up to be 2 lines of 420, which actually still probably wouldn't be that difficult. So that is the smelters portion of this build then taken care of. That's pretty good. We're making good time today. Thank blueprints. God, blueprints are just the complete game changer in this game. Also, I'm super excited. Like, I'm actually recording this on the day that they also just released like a whole bunch of the updates for like 1.1, and it's supposed to be like the experimental is at least coming out soon, which means I'm assuming in the full main branch, which is what this game is currently being played in, that we will get 1.1. I mean, sooner rather than later, and I'm pretty excited for it. There's all sorts of good stuff coming to it. Like, there was so much good stuff they announced that I was like, man, I'm gonna have to sit down for this. So anyway, back to what we were actually doing. We got 40 constructors for copper sheets. Like I said, 2 of them are going to be overclocked. 10 of them on top are going to be for cables. Hopefully this comes together pretty well. I think I kind of like measured it out mostly that things would fit. I'm going to try and start doing it where I'm kind of counting out more or less like how much space the blueprints actually take up, and then that'll help me kind of lay out my floor plans a little better. And then hopefully I won't have to add in a whole bunch of stuff, because actually this whole room didn't actually even exist before. I had to blow this wall out and add in a little bit more because I realized I didn't have enough room for enough all the constructors that were going to fit in here. Kind of pre-planned a little bit to make sure this would actually work, but you know, made sure I'm recording everything for you guys. So 40 constructors. We're going to grab our constructor blueprint here. We're going to grab our stackable one. So this is for copper sheets. That's this bad boy right here. And then I think it lines up if the constructors, I mean, it's 5 by 5 either way. It doesn't necessarily matter which way they're facing. It'll just depend where all your belts and everything come in. So I think I wanted it facing this direction. Or it may actually even make more sense just because we're bringing stuff over to here. So if we actually face it the other way, say our inputs are going to be going that way. Then I just need to figure out what, where I actually want to start this. So that, I think, is supposed to come to right there. So there's one. And then I need to put another one next to it. Hello, there we go. So there's 2. And then for this one, I'm going to use the stacker because I need to add in more constructors on top. And then the one back here, I'm going to not use my stacking. Just your normal one. Just like that. And then what I'm actually going to do, just to make things a little bit easier, is I'm going to add in enough concrete to fill in this whole section here. Like, I'm actually going to connect it to the wall. And then I'll probably take off this section right here, because this kind of doesn't really make any sense to be there. Can't really fit anything there anyway. So I'll add that in there. And that should give me just a little bit extra space I'm going to need for the constructors I'm going to put up here. So if I go... Where is it? This is for cable, but I don't actually have a cable one, I don't think. So I'll just use my wire, and then I'll just... Actually, I can just do this one. I'll change it. So we're going to do non-stacking. I take it off blueprint mode here, so it's a little bit easier to fit in. Because I'm going to have to take off, I think, some of the power pole to make this thing fit up here. But I want the inputs going like that. So they're on this side, and then the merger will come out this side here. So it makes it moving around. Actually, I guess it would actually make more sense to have the merger on the other side. There we go. We'll have it like this. Lock it into position with H. Everything else fits, as you can see. Like the little towers there almost clip through. But yeah, so I'm just going to get rid of a little tiny bit of power line here on the, or power pole here on the end. Let's get rid of my painted beam there. Then I'll just put in another one so it's a little smaller. All right, there we go. So just shorten the pole up a little bit, and now it's not clipping through the window. So now these can all be set to do cable, which would be perfect. So that way, I think even back here, essentially what the plan was, since the merger comes out right here, I can put a floor hole in here along this back section, since that'll kind of that gives me the space to move that downstairs. And then maybe back here, I can kind of worry about like putting things in storage and into the dimensional depots. So I'm just going to make sure I actually just get all the constructors down so I know what sort of room I'm working with here. So let's get our 24 copper constructors up here. I'm going to grab our, this is for wire. So we're going to grab our wire stack, and it's actually fit perfectly for up here. So we're going to go lock that into position right there. I'm going to go one. And then we're going to put one more on top of it. We can go to blueprint mode here. Actually, I'm going to face it the opposite direction so that it's going to come back. It's going to go out that way and it's going to come back this way. I think that'll make the most sense. And then I just need 4 constructors on top. Or you could overclock them, but I think since it's just 4, I think I'll just do the extra 4. So we'll grab a 3 constructor manifold here. And then what I'll do is I'll just add a 4th one onto the end here. Alright, it fits, but literally just barely. But we got 24 copper wire constructors. And then so those are, most of them are going to feed, I think, into a dimensional depot for store. Actually, no, I think the majority of it probably gets fed into the cable over here. So we got our, this is going to be set up to do cable. These are going to be all set to 100%, which means I need 600 of that copper wire that's going to be coming from over here. It's going to come to this section. Then the remaining 120, which is probably going to come from like, I guess this section of 4 up here is pretty much, oh, okay, so that's actually pretty easy. So what I'll do is I'll just put the dimensional depot up here. So let me grab a storage box. There we go. Okay, I think that makes the most sense. So we'll have 120 copper wire per minute coming from up here, which is exactly what I want. And that is going to feed into this smart splitter right here. Left output, storage container. Straight output, dimensional depot. Right output, overflow. So once these two are overflowed, you're going to go flow down the side here. And then that'll run down into, I'll have to set up an awesome sink somewhere for the backup of everybody to flow into. Which means I may need 2. Alright, no, I guess we can just go with 1. And then the idea is, you know, we're going to have the 1200 per minute conveyor belts within the next, I don't know, short-ish while. I still have quite a bit of things to do and set up. But mainly I want to just get, what is it, those like glow ball. That was my brain has never shut down any harder. Glow ball things. It's the nuclear pasta, so we got to get those set up. And then because you can't really hand automate copper powder, so everything for that is going to have to be set up. And then the other ones can kind of just be fed by like all hand feeds to manufacturers with all the input things, because we don't need as many as we did before. You don't need like thousands of parts for it like you did last time. So things will be a little bit easier. Anyway, back to the current project. So we're going to start getting these things all set up. So we're going to go and set the 360 copper ingots. We're going to send those on over up there. We'll figure out how to get those around this factory without being too complicated. Thankfully, I've got all sorts of space and wall space that I can make use of. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a lift. I'm going to drag it out. I'm going to bring it... Alright, there we go. So we're going to bring it up and over that one. So we're going to have some crossing over conveyor lines. But I think that actually ends up looking pretty cool. So we're going to bring this along the wall here. I'm going to drag it over. And I need to get this all the way up here. And pretty much just fed into at least one of these. So I think maybe what I can do is I'll put like a floor hole here, since I have some space to work with. And I suppose it will probably make more sense to feed it into a splitter. So I think then what I'll do So I will grab a floor hole and a splitter. Put the splitter right here. Just like that. Floor hole right there. I'll connect you into you, you into there. And that way this will be a little bit easier once we head to the back side. Get that all linked up. And so now, since these are all connected, grab a lift from you to you. Lift from you to you. Merger from you to you. And then the only other thing I have to connect is, I suppose, yeah, a lift on either side. So from this one on the outside, I guess that's going to be in the way, isn't it? So we're going to grab. All right, there we go. Because I'm basically a genius. I got to figure it out. So from these splitters that are feeding up the backside here, I'm actually feeding lifts out both sides into a merger up top so that this all stays split even and fed so nothing gets all weird. And then that'll merge into this line up top. That's my wire that I need for all my crafting purposes in the future. And then so these ones can all be linked up, or these two, I suppose I should have said, not all these ones. We're going to grab a lift from here. This is a merger going down here. There is going to be a little bit of clippage there. Okay with that? I feel like I'm okay with that. If you really wanted to, yeah, I'll move it back a little bit. There we go. No more clipping. So now we're going to just connect up this floor hole here. Grab a lift. Basically like that, so I'm not like kind of messing up with the lights or anything. And then we're going to bring this down. It's going to have to hit a lift. Bring this around the corner here. Alright, there we go. So that'll be my copper ingots coming up here to feed this line through here. So let's turn that. Actually, I think we can start turning some things on. The only thing is I'm not actually bringing the copper ore in from the train line yet. So we'll have to figure that one out. But that's not really feeding this line down here. So let's go ahead and turn this bad boy on. I'm going to plug it in. I have plugs kind of set up all around. Let's go. This one about right there. Clip through? No, okay. Alright, miner's been kicked on. See that ore kind of flowing out here any second. 600 per minute. And that'll feed this bottom line here. And this middle line here. None of this is actually even hooked up to power yet anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Hook those together. And then bring this one out around this backside. This will be my kind of connection for everybody. And we can just bring that one across. Just like that. And there we go. Alright, we kicked on our first group of smelters here. Those are all running down below. That's running at 600 per minute. That should be fine. And that'll start making all our wire up there, so that's good. So wire is basically done. Although, again, I haven't turned any of the power on up here yet. So then I need to figure out how I'm going to take the output from all of this, basically these two floors here. Did I merge these? What am I doing here? Oh, it's funny. That's why I connected that up wrong. You could basically make a perpetual, just circular motion of the wire running around. So it actually comes out of here, and then I need to take it somewhere else. So let's just put that there for now until we figure out how we're going to move it across. So we need to be able to move it across and down, because that all has to come into right here. Okay, so I just realized my problem, and I wasn't really even paying attention when I put them down, was that my group of splitters along the backside here was like clipped through the ceiling. So what I actually had to do to fix that is I blew out one more. So I added this whole section on this side, so now it's kind of just level going all the way down along. Got some concrete pillars in here for support. And now I can put my blueprint back down of my 10 constructor manifold not stacking, and it shouldn't be clipping through the ceiling like it was over here last time. And I have these faced the wrong way again. These actually need to go like this. Alright, there. Sorry to skip ahead a little bit, but adjustments have been made and it all fits now. So we get our 10 constructors on top for our, that's going to be our cable. And I just had to offset it a little bit, but that should work. So now we just got to get, like I said, we just got to get these from here to over here. We're going to grab I think I'm going to start from over here. We'll use a splitter, since it's going to have to go to 2 of those anyway. We'll kind of go right in the middle of it. The splitter right there. And that's going to come out of this merger right here. There we go. Perfect. So that'll come out of there from that merger. Come down here, feed this splitter. And now we got to get this splitter that I thought was like perfectly right in the middle. With this thing, it's actually off by 1. So I'm going to move that over just 1 more. Alright. Yeah, I think that works. It took me a second to kind of figure out I was going to get these across, but I think that'll work. And then I can maybe even add potentially some supports here if I needed to. Let's see if this will actually work. I think it might just be, it'll just be hanging off the side. So, but that's okay. I think that like realistically can make enough sense that it isn't too like breaking the laws of physics. Not super important, but I mean, I think it'll just make it look a little bit cooler the more real I can make it. So that is all of our wire that needs to be hooked up to the cable. And then all of the cable will basically just feed out from this, from this back side. And all that cable is going to be used for my crafting purposes. So we're basically just going to do the same thing we did up top here. We'll make a little storage bin, make a little dimensional depot, and then we should have all the cable we're going to need for the rest of the time. So I think what I'll do for that one, like I said, I'll probably put that one down below here. This little empty gap I got going down here. Gotta fix this whole pillar thing that we got going on. So the only thing I have to worry about now is actually getting the copper ore over to the copper sheet. And so I was like, wait, no, copper ore is here already. Copper ore needs to come to here to do all these copper sheets. Those are basically the only ones we have left. And then we're pretty much at the end of this project. It wasn't too crazy. Might even be a bit of a shorter episode than usual. We'll see how it comes edited together. Hopefully it was like semi-watchable. It was it's not like too confusing, but it's like just making sure everyone's actually hooked up to everybody here. And I was trying to make, you know, a pretty cool looking factory, which I think I did a pretty good job of. Like now that it's actually filled with the machines, it definitely looks a lot more full and a lot more lively in here. So a few more belts and things everywhere, maybe a couple more decorations, and I think we've got a pretty cool factory here. All right, after a little bit of math, which, you know, always my favorite thing to do, and I realized also it wasn't 2 constructors need to be overclocked, it's actually 4. So I did change that sign, and it's going to be these 4 down here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. They are all overclocked to 200% to make up for the 2 that I was leaving off. No, sorry, I am silly. It is just 2. I don't know why I thought it was 4. So it's 2 overclocked. So let's actually take, I did overclock these, so let's take these out of here. There we go. So that meant by overclocking these 2 in the end, it basically it's like you're adding an extra constructor on the end, and I only needed 42, so that would make sense. So now still, that's the same way though. This floor needs 480. And this floor needs 360. Nope, great math skills today, Sheffrey. This floor needs 400 and this floor needs 440. There we go. Now we're on the right track. Okay, so that means to split these up, this is going to be not the easiest thing to do, but it should be able to, it should make sense once it's actually all together. So if we get 300 per floor, that means we're getting, what, 30 each? So that's where it becomes a little confusing. That some of it's going to go, we're going to have 400 here and 440 because neither of those are divisible by 30. But I mean, because these are shared as their inputs, I should be able to actually do some underclocking and overclocking if I need to without actually messing the line up too badly. So I think what I'll probably do is I'll figure out a way to actually boost maybe like some of these ones to actually underclock or overclock or something. We'll figure it out, and then we'll have to connect some people around to some different ones here. So this might get a little confusing, so just hang tight while I figure this one out. Okay, that definitely took me longer than it should have, but this is really the only hard part of the factory is getting this split up because I wanted to do it so perfectly. So we have the bottom layer and these 2. That's feeding your copper wire up top there. And then you've got these ones down here all set still to 100%. Those get mixed with these ones here, which has one of them overclocked to do 50 per minute. That gives me 440 out of this line. And then you have these 4 on the end are down clocked to 20, so that makes 100. Gets up mixed with that one, the 300 on top, so that's 400 on top. And I've got them labeled so I wouldn't forget. You got 400 coming out of here, 440 coming out of here, and then you got those ones going over there. So this 440 needs to go over to these sheet constructors here. So I think what I'll do then is the way I've got it labeled now. So 400 is going to go to this floor, and 440 is going to go to this floor. So 400 is going to go and attach to that one. 440 is going to attach to the other one. And Bob's your uncle, and we're pretty much done. Alright, so I got all these connected up now. We're coming along the top, come down there, feed into that line there. Now, the only thing I think I might change about this is, since I had to put it in so tightly, I think I may add in just one more piece of foundation coming out this side. It obviously won't impede with the train. And then that'll allow me to put my lifts and everything just in a little bit cleaner. And then also, I can probably just line that like straight up with that. And also be able to put like some walkways to be able to get up here. Because right now this is obviously just like a free floating structure. So I think what I'll do, like I said, I'll just add on. We'll just have to put on the half foundations everywhere. Just like that. And then we'll grab our like our 1 meter foundations like that. And there we go. That way I can just add in, like I said, I'll add on a walkway. I can put in some floor holes. I can put in some better walkways and everything. And it'll just look a little bit neater, I think. So I think that'll be a little bit better. So now that those are running across into there, now we can actually set up the power and output for our copper sheets here. So those are all connected. They're just not actually hooked up to any actual power yet. And then I'm going to need a place for these to go. And then I also need a place for the cables to go. So let's figure that out. I think we should be able to fit that all down in here. Oh yeah, we got plenty of space down here. Okay, so we're going to have... Actually, yeah, let me do... Actually, here, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the dimensional corner, or the dimensional depots here in the corner. We'll go one there. And I need another merge, so I'll worry about that one a little bit. But though, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an industrial storage container here. Should have enough room if I come down through a floor hole. So I'll put that one like right there in the middle. And we'll put another one right here in the middle. And so I'll have one belt going out here. And then I'll put my smart splitters in here. So one will go right there. The other one can go right here. So it looks like I won't be able to actually get the awesome sink in under here, because otherwise it'll just kind of be clipping through the floor. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably just set it like out. I got a little bit of room just on the outside there. I'll just kind of tuck it on the outside of the wall, and then we'll just feed like a line to the outside or something, and then that way we can get the excess sunk and it won't be in the way. I could have put it out here, but then I think it might be like, I'll see if I can fit it in here without it being too much in the way, but I think it will be. Oh, maybe not. It might actually fit in pretty well here. I would just have to kind of maybe shift it over a little bit if I can. I mean, it's a little tight, but we can make it work, and that way I don't have to actually stick it on the outside, which might look a little funny, so maybe we'll end up just kind of squeezing it in here. Here we go. We got our floor holes hooked up. That'll take our copper sheets and our cable, and then we should be good to go. So I think now we can basically fire everything on and make sure it works, and that'll bring us to the end of the episode. And this is a pretty cool looking factory, I think. Alright, I got everything turned on. Fun fact, I forgot to turn on my copper line over on the train station, so I was like, wait, I'm missing half my copper still. But that is now coming in ever so slowly, and then on the bottom section here, we have our cable and our copper sheets starting to roll down. I gave the copper sheets 2 dimensional depots because I'm constantly running out of copper sheets. Now, should we need another one, like say I'm still running out of them, I can always add a 3rd one in here, and then I can always also add potentially even a 4th and a 5th with some lifts and everything put in here. I don't think you would ever need that many for sheets. I think 2 should probably work. 3 maybe even, would just be a worst case scenario. And then we have our 1 dimensional depot uploader for our cable here. Turns out I must have been, I was running out of my stockpile of my copper sheets. So we got those all loaded up and in. We got our cable already ready to go. So that, I believe, is going to bring us to the end of today's episode. Hopefully it kind of came together well. It was a little bit, got myself a little bit all jumbled around when I was trying to set some of this up. But hopefully it all made sense if you were following along. If you're not following along, hopefully you just enjoyed a nice little episode of putting a factory together. I think this one looks pretty cool. I'm really enjoying, again, not using logistics floors and kind of stacking things together. It really makes the whole factory feel a lot more alive. So having everything kind of just in one big open room like this especially makes it even more cool, I think. So thank you guys again for being here for another episode. Should I run into any issues, I will highlight them at the beginning of next episode. But as far as I'm concerned, this should be working at 100% efficiency. All the numbers are pretty easy. It was just a lot of machines to place down. And then now we are fully covered for all our copper needs, I believe, for the rest of the game. Just like our power is pretty much covered for the rest of the game, I don't think we'll ever have to craft sheets, wire, or cable for crafting purposes ever again. I mean, you're still going to see me make tons and tons and tons of them for actual other recipes, but at least this is all finished off now. Got a cool train running through here, and then in the next episode we can overhaul all those iron things. So just for finishing sake, let's finish that to-do list, just so we can feel good about ourselves. There we go, and I will see you guys in the next episode.